Greetings, human children. Prepare for the final issue of the saga between the Sentinels and the X-Men. Behold, the Master Mold is reaching out to defeat the X-Men as they seek to stop him. His goal to create Sentinels that will defeat humanity everywhere. Will they stop him? Can they stop him? Look at the title. It says the Supreme Sacrifice. Someone will be stopped in order to defeat the foe. Look at the beginning of this great battle. The Master Mold seeks to defeat our heroes, Professor X and the X-Men. In this issue, a life is lost, a battle won. We must proceed. I turn the saga over to my narrator. And so, it's Papa's turn to tell you the story about the ongoing battle between the Sentinels and the X-Men. Do you remember last issue we saw the amazing Professor Xavier's astral image driven from the Sentinels' fortress by deadly microelectric blasts, and he just barely made it. He finally reunited his astral image with his physical form, and so we find him collapsed on the ground, and he's thinking, I just made it. Another few seconds and I'd have been unable to take control of my physical form again. My X-Men are prisoners of the gigantic Sentinels within that deadly fortress, while I lie helpless outside, unable to help them, hardly able to defend myself. But I cannot fail them now. It was I who organized them, who inspired them to risk their lives for mankind, for the same human race which now hates and fears them, and all because of Dr. Trask and his Sentinels. Trask believed he was doing the right thing. He thought all mutants were menaces. He created the Sentinels to destroy us, thinking we were the enemies of humanity. He had his Sentinels construct that impregnable fortress. He armed them with deadly new weapons for the purpose of wiping all mutants from the face of the earth. He was too blind, too fanatical to realize that there are both good and bad mutants, to realize that his Sentinels are the real threat. Wait, the fortress is sinking like a gigantic elevator. It's completely hidden again, camouflaged by a deceptive mound of earth. Now my X-Men are completely cut off from any aid that I might give them. Oh no, what will happen next? That's what Professor X ponders. This means that the most dangerous Sentinel of all, the gargantuan Master Mold, can continue to create more Sentinels until they overrun all of Earth, unless I can stop him, and I will, if it costs me my very life. Back in the city, there is a fallen Sentinel. If I can find out why he fell, I'll have the key to their defeat. Do you remember all the way back to our first encounter with the Sentinels? Remember that for some unknown reason, one of the Sentinels fell face forward. And now Professor X wants to go back and examine it. All right, we'll see how that impacts the story. Desperately, painfully disregarding the agony of his injured body, the crippled mutant tirelessly crawls inch after inch until he reaches the highway at last. Now he thinks to stop the first passing car, a basic telepathic command will do the trick no normal human can resist. And so he sends a thought bolt, slow down, stop 100 yards ahead. Seconds later, the driver and his passenger stop and they pick up Professor X. Sure is lucky we saw you, fella. What happened? No time to explain now, says the professor. You must drive me to the city. Sure, we'll be glad to. But this fella thinks there's something about him. It seems to force us to obey. Kind of strange the way we slowed down in time, almost like we knew he'd be there. Meanwhile, back within the now hidden fortress, we find 4 of the X-Men are trapped within this dome. Remember, they were stopped by this heavy gravity ray. And they're speaking to each other. Iceman says, now what have they done to us? It's hard to move in here, like my muscles are made of lead. You're right, says Marvel Girl. Something is pressing us down, sapping our strength. Angel is trying to lift himself up, but he says, I can't even fly to the top. My wings can hardly flap in here. Cyclops realizes there's only one answer. They found a way to increase the weight of gravity within the globe, and there's no way for us to fight it. But the big question, he thinks, where are they taking us to, and why? And so the Sentinels, powerful as they are carrying the globe with the X-Men inside. One Sentinel says, place the heavy grav globe upon its permanent base. It is done. They shall be safe here until the Master Mold gives us orders for their final disposal. No matter how they struggle, there is no way to overcome the irresistible power of increased gravity. This is why we are destined to rule mankind. Our computerized brains can create weapons which no mere human can match. But inside the seemingly escape-proof prison, the mere humans within are determined that if they must be defeated, they'll go down fighting. And so, look, Cyclops attempts to shatter the glass with his powerful I-beam. He thinks, my power blast can shatter almost anything. Why won't they smash that glass? Thung! But they're not powerful enough for that impregnable glass. For long, anguished minutes, the dedicated deputy leader unleashes his awesome power until at last he collapses. He thinks, it's no use. I failed. The wall isn't glass, but some new impregnable substance. Yet perhaps the others, by use of their mutant power, may do better. And so here's Marvel Girl attempting to levitate herself. Bobby says, easy, Jean. Even if you can levitate yourself, there's no place to go. The top of this double-sized milk bottle is all sealed up. I know, Bobby, says Marvel Girl, but I've got to keep trying. Trying something, right? We can't just sit idly by and wait for the end. We must... Oh, and so she collapses from the effort. Uh-oh, says Bobby, I was afraid that would happen. The professor always warned you about overtaxing your telekinetic power. But if we don't break out, she says, we're all doomed. Not if I can help it. I'm going to build my own kind of icy battering ram. Good idea, Bobby. It's the one thing that may do it. And so look, he's going to create an icy pillar that will perhaps explode at one end or the other, this glass dome. The Angel is thinking, I always felt superior to the others because I could fly, but now I realize how useless my wings can be at times. Can't fly when you are pressed down by gravity. There! So you see, Bobby has created an ice bar all the way from one end to the other. The more ice I add to the bar, the more pressure it exerts against the walls. Keep it up, partner, says the angel. The sentinels are so confident that we're trapped, they're not even paying attention. Don't stop now. Each chunk of ice I add makes me that much weaker, but I gotta keep doing it. It's all up to me. This is my chance to prove that I may be the youngest X-Man, but I still pull my own weight on the team. So he keeps adding ice and adding ice. But crack! It didn't work. The ice bar shattered instead of the wall. And so this impregnable wall of the dome structure seems to be impossible to crack. I failed you, says Iceman. It was all up to me, and I conked out. Don't ever say that again, boy, says Cyclops. You did all that any man could do. You tried your best. You called me a man for the first time, says Bobby. You're as much a man as any of us, Bobby. Never forget it. Now listen, continues Cyclops, all of you. We can't shatter that wall. We'll just drain our strength by trying. So we'll make no more attempts. Our best bet is to take it easy, conserve our power, and wait for the first opening. They've got to open this thing in order to get at us, and that's when we'll strike. At that moment, in another chamber of the vast fortress, the awesome Master Mold concludes his examination of the unconscious beast. Do y'all remember? The last time we saw him, he was on the examination board under the psychoprobe, and we learned about the background to Hank McCoy, the beast X-Man. Well, here's what the Master Mold is saying. I need learn no more about him. I realize now that the X-Men do not possess the power to harm us. Trask says, wait, what do you plan to do with him? He shall be imprisoned with the other captive mutants, as the Master Mold has commanded. And the Master Mold says, then, at my pleasure, they will all be destroyed, for that is the purpose you yourself have programmed into our computerized brains. No, no, says Trask, I was wrong. I realize that now. They aren't menaces to mankind. It's you who are. They mustn't be harmed. Silence. Though you created us, you are merely a human. You too must obey. While I have the power, it is you who have the knowledge to create a vast army of sentinels for me, and you shall do so. No, says Trask, it would mean betraying my fellow men. You and your sentinels would enslave all of Earth. You have no choice. Have you forgotten my power? If so, behold this simple demonstration. Your disintegrator beam! Don't do it! Don't! But he points, and the beam shines forth. Zzzt! Do not fear, says Master Mold. You shall not be harmed as yet. It is the nearest city that will be wiped out as easily as I erase yonder machine. And I did it, moans Trask. I gave you that ray. Silly man. I cannot allow an entire city to suffer such a fate. I'll create your army of sentinels. And he thinks, after all, where there's life, there's hope. We may still find a way to destroy the Master Mold. For with him gone, the sentinels would be leaderless. The threat would be ended. If only the X-Men were still free. If only I had listened to them. Meanwhile, back at the TV studio, where the first Sentinel had collapsed for no apparent reason, the policeman says, I don't get it. Trask built these bozos to fight the X-Men, but then they captured Trask himself. Other policeman says, Trask was a fool. No man has a right to take the law into his own hands. And this policeman said, if only we knew where they took him and how many other Sentinels they are, they may strike again at any time. Perhaps I can help you, Inspector. and Professor X enters the room. "Professor Xavier," says the inspector, "you're the one who was debating with Trask on TV. You claimed mutants were not dangerous to mankind. Come on in, mister. We'll take any help we can get." "What do you know about this Sentinel here? How dangerous is he?" Professor X answers, "More dangerous than you can imagine, unless we can learn the reason that he collapsed." "You're not going to learn anything by sitting and staring at him, are you?" asks the policeman. But Professor X doesn't answer. He merely thinks, he cannot suspect that I'm actually probing deep within the figure before me by means of sheer mental energy. And so Professor probes mentally. What can he learn from this fallen Sentinel? He's built like a gigantic TV set. He will not receive a picture properly if there is interference. Something has interfered with him. If I could only learn what that something is. "Look, mister," says the policeman, "I was willing to give you a chance, but if you just want to catch up on your daydreaming, go do it somewhere else, huh?" But Professor ignores him and he thinks, I sense something at last from outside the window. If I can just mentally pinpoint it, we'll have the answer. "Do not speak, Inspector," says the professor. "Give me just 1 minute more." And so then the professor points out the window. The inspector asks, "What are you pointing at that new Crystal Products building for? What's that got to do with anything?" And Professor realizes the giant crystal which adorns the tower, that's it. When the Sentinel stood before the window, his transmission beam was broken by the crystal's interference. That crystal was in a perfect place. "Then," says the inspector, "if we moved him again, he'd come to life once he was away from the window." "Exactly," answers the professor, "but it would be too dangerous to try. I have a better idea. We must destroy the source of his transition beams, and at last I know how to do it." But we know how anxious you are to rejoin the X-Men once again, and so let's look and see what's going on back at the Sentinels' fortress. And we see the Beast on his table being carried by the Sentinels. "Place the helpless one with the other prisoners until the Master Mold orders their disposal." "I obey, Section Leader." "Open the globe. I have another prisoner to be deposited within." Marvel Girl looks and says, "It's the Beast." Iceman realizes they're going to put him in here with us. Angel says that means they'll have to open the globe. Cyclops realizes this is what we've been waiting for. Remember our battle plan. And so look, he pulls the lever. He adjusts some switches. We are in the proper defensive posture. "Then let the globe be opened." "They're taking no chances," says Angel. "They're ringed all around us. Their lethal chest rays are all aimed right at us." "No matter what," says Cyclops, "we must carry out our plan." The Sentinel opens the lever. "The gravity is getting lighter," says Cyclops. "More normal. Get ready." Iceman sees an opening is beginning to form. Angel warns, "We've got to be doubly careful not to injure the Beast." "If we fail," says Marvel Girl, "nothing will matter." And on a personal note, for those of you who might want to make your own heavy gravity globe, we'll just tip you off that the opening is formed by repelling the atomic particles within the globule structure. Now there, the rest will be easy. Well, I doubt that any of us are going to try to construct a heavy gravity globe. All right, Angel says, "Say the word, Psych. We're all set." Iceman says, "If we wait too long, we'll miss our chance." Marvel Girl looks. They're starting to lift Hank off the stretcher. Just another 2 seconds, says Cyclops, till they're in the right position. Now! Moving with blinding speed, Cyclops blasts his power beam at the Sentinel carrying Hank McCoy. It worked, says Cyclops. He dropped the beast. Zap! Let's go! Racing to prevent the X-Men's escape, the other Sentinels trip and fall over their stricken comrade. Clunk, 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 clunk. The timing was perfect, says Cyclops. They're getting all tangled up. Cyclops says, I'll leap out first to make them direct their chest rays at me. It will give Jean and the others a better chance. Whew! Lucky for me, he thinks, they're so slow moving. Whoom! The Sentinel aims his chest beam at Cyclops. Cyclops thinks, what's keeping the others? Warren, says Marvel Girl, they're trying to close the opening again. It's only big enough for us to slip through one at a time. Hank and Bobby will never make it. Don't worry, Jean, says Angel. We're not deserting them. You'll see, as the Angel carries Marvel Girl outside the globe. Oh, no, you don't, says Cyclops. You're not sealing my partners in that globe again. Stop him, says the Sentinel, as the other Sentinel begins to move the lever back. Scrack! But how can you stop the unstoppable I-beam of Cyclops? There, that one control panel, you can kiss goodbye. And so he destroys the control panel. That's going to leave the opening in the globe. And Angel flies through, and the Sentinel swings, but he misses. Whoom! And strikes the control panel. Just what I hoped you'd do, says the Angel. By swinging at me and missing, you shattered a whole wall full of weapons. Marvel Girl looks. That Sentinel coming towards me. I can't evade him. If I can just use my telekinetic powers against him to force him back. So look, she uses her mental telekinesis to push back the Sentinel. There, she thinks, I slowed him down. Now, just a little more. His body is too heavy for me, but by concentrating on his arms, I can force them back further, further. They're making him topple. Is her mental telekinetic power enough to topple a gigantic Sentinel? Let's watch and see. Hey, Jeannie needs some help. Let's move. Too late. I downed him myself, says Marvel Girl. You sure did, honey, says the Angel, getting a little personal here. But we'll make sure he stays down. Make it too slippery for him to stand, Bobby. I'm way ahead of you, Fly Guy. And so the Iceman covers the floor with a sheet of ice. And look, the Sentinel is stumbling and falling. And so Cyclops picks up Hank. He says, I've got Hank, now let's go. Every second counts. We've got to destroy the Master Mold. Angel flies above everyone and says, to be able to soar again. And the Iceman and Marvel Girl are on point. All 5 of the X-Men are together again, and they're heading to stop the Master Mold. Will they get there in time? Will they be able to prevent him from creating more Sentinels? What will the X-Men do? How can they defeat the Master Mold and his Sentinels? And what about Trask? How will he get involved? And Professor X and the Crystal? A lot of things are ready to fall into place and to bring our saga to a close. And we'll do that the next time we meet. We'll finish this adventure of the X-Men's battle against the Sentinels. I can't wait. I'll see you soon. Love y'all. Bye-bye.